stop raids by Comanche, Apache, and Kickapoo from their hideouts in northern Mexico. The elder Hamer, a colorful, hard-drinking character with an offbeat sense of humor, displayed the same courage and quick-witted thinking that would be the hallmark of his son's career. One day, exhausted and separated from his cavalry unit, Hamer dismounted and laid down in the brush to nap. A nervous snort from his horse startled him awake in time to see that he had been surrounded by a Comanche war party. Hamer knew that his life depended on what he did next. Lurching to his feet, he staggered drunkenly through the brush, foaming at the mouth. Alternately singing in a loud voice and mumbling incoherently, he wobbled toward the astonished Indians. As he danced, whistled, and laughed, the warriors lowered their weapons. One of the Comanches exclaimed, "Muy loco." The Indians quickly retreated from the crazed soldier, fearful of the evil spirit that had possessed him. Swinging onto their horses, they galloped off. Hamer kept up his act until they disappeared, then caught his horse and raced hell for leather to Fort Clark. Army life didn't agree with Franklin Hamer. He received a medical discharge after just 5 months and settled in Fairview, a tiny Wilson County village of about 100, situated 40 miles southeast of San Antonio. There he worked as a farmer and blacksmith and wooed 20-year-old Lou Emma Francis. The two were married by a justice of the peace in her parents' home in Fairview in 1881 and promptly set out to raise a large family. Their first child, Dennis Estelle Hamer, arrived 10 months later. The second eldest, Francis Augustus, destined for a legendary life, was born in Fairview on March 17, 1884. More children followed: Sanford Clinton, called Sant, in 1886, Harrison Lester in 1888, Mary Grace in 1891, Emma Patience, known as Pat, in 1894, Alma Dell in 1898, and the youngest, Flavius Lethbridge, in 1899. The Hamer family was a mixture of Scottish, Irish, English, and German blood. Frank, to distinguish him from his father, was often called Gus, for Augustus, in his youth. From his father, Frank inherited a dry, sardonic wit and learned to speak in colorful and sometimes profane language. His father's heavy drinking was an attribute that the eldest son, Estelle, inherited, and that Frank was careful to avoid. As a young boy, Frank's most vivid memories were of his maternal grandfather, L.J. Francis. The old man, a jagged scar down the side of his face, regaled the youth with stories of his adventures on the frontier. In 1840, at age 22, he accompanied an overland trade caravan from Texas to Chihuahua in northern Mexico. The traders were set upon by Indians, who killed 7 of the party before Francis was shot in the head with an arrow. He was captured and almost killed, but soon escaped. In later years, he became a Presbyterian minister, and young Frank was inspired to follow his grandfather's religious life. Frank's father had a roving disposition. As Franklin's sister-in-law recalled, Mr. Hamer was a great hand for moving from place to place. In 1890, when Frank was 6, his father brought his family to the hill country. Settling at McAnally's Bend, now called Bend, on the Colorado River, 14 miles southeast of San Saba. There he ran a blacksmith shop. In 1894, the elder Hamer moved his family south to Oxford, another small settlement, 15 miles below Llano, on the road to Fredericksburg. He opened another blacksmith shop in a 2-story barn-like building fronting the Llano-Fredericksburg Road. Next to it was a simple board and batten house, into which crammed the Hamer's growing brood. Estelle and Frank helped their father, gathering firewood for the forge, pumping the bellows, and learning to hammer iron on his anvil. Years later, Frank and his good friend Bill Sterling, a Texas Ranger captain, happened to be traveling through Llano County. Recalled Sterling, "Hamer stopped our car in front of an old roadside blacksmith shop. He said that it had once belonged to his father. As a youth, he had put in many hours of toil at the anvil, swinging a sledgehammer and working with other heavy tools. This is where Frank Hamer got his brawny arms." Like most youths in the hill country, the Hamer boys also learned riding, roping, branding,